But let's start with college football, Ephraim, and I don't have to tell you the story that it is obviously the biggest story in college football.
What, Alabama's woes?
Right.
Quarterback?
That would have been.
Right.
That would have been in a normal year, right? This might be the biggest story in sports, to be honest. But Colorado, Deion Sanders, what he's done there, they're 3-0. And I feel like people are viewing this weekend's game. They're ranked 19th, Colorado. They play 10th ranked Oregon in Eugene, Oregon on Saturday. And I feel like people are looking at this as like their first test. You know, people are belittling TCU now. And I don't know if that's fair or not. TCU was ranked 19th. They had been to the championship game a year ago, so people gave them a lot of props, even though they had lost a lot of players. And Colorado beat them pretty good and then won their next two games. Now, TCU has gone on to win their next two games, so maybe they are a legitimate top 25 team, but people seem to be belittling that now and saying, okay, let's see what Colorado does against Oregon. And look, I respect Oregon. They are legitimate. It's become a top program. But Ephraim Salaam, I'm picking the Buffaloes. I'm going to tell you why. Oregon, yeah, they destroyed Hawaii and I think put up 81 points against Portland State. All right. They played Texas Tech, which is a legitimate Power 5 conference team, and struggled. Was down. They were down with less than 2 minutes left. Got the game-winning field goal and then picked off a pass as Texas Tech was trying desperately to, get the win and scored. So they didn't look great in their only remote test this year. I get it. People are going to say that about Colorado against Colorado State. That's fair. I think Colorado's players, I don't think they took Colorado State lightly because they didn't after all the yapping that was going on. But Ephraim, I think they thought they were just going to walk out there and destroy them. And next thing you know, they find out, man, these boys came to play. We in a game. And they had to squeak it out. But I think that I'm going out on a limb because Colorado's 21-point underdogs. But I think they can get this win, Ephraim, and obviously I hope they do just for the story. Yeah, I like Deion Sanders, but for the story, I mean, this has been exciting. This has been fun. And that would really set up a great game with USC the following Saturday. So do you think I'm tripping by saying Colorado is going to win this game?
So when you look at things like this, the Ephraim in me, right?
Opposed to the what?
Opposed to the objective analyst.
Oh, okay.
The Ephraim in me wants to suit up and go and play for Deion right now on the offensive line.
Well, you need to help him recruit some offensive linemen.
Trust me, he's recruiting right now without even calling anybody. True. Everything he's doing is recruiting, and that's the power of Deion Sanders. That's why I believe he's changed the landscape of college football for the first time in 20 years. The Ephraim in me is 100% with you. Let's ride out. The more Deion wins, the more we win.
Yes, right.
Right? And I say we because I'm talking about the culture. I'm talking about athletes. I'm talking about it all.
Right.
Right? Because I consider myself a confident black man. You consider yourself a confident black man.
Yes.
Although sometimes you look a little Puerto Rican. I can never tell some of the.
I can pass for a lot of different things.
Sometimes I don't know who.
I've been mistaken for a lot, man.
So. But when you walk in life like that, that scares people.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You mean no harm. I'm living in my light.
Right.
And a lot of times when you live in your light, that blinds people to who you are. Case in point, I'm going to tell you a little story. I got a good friend of mine, really good friend. And he texts me like, oh, my God, Deion Sanders is trash. So I'm like, what?
Wow.
I said, what? He was like, he's all hype. I said,
was this before the season?
This was after the game. It was during the Colorado State game.
Okay. So it looked like they might lose.
He's all hype, no substance. I said, maybe we're not looking at the same Deion Sanders, but okay. Why would you say that? Because he is. Right? I mean, it's all talk. Look at me. And I was like, well, I don't get that from what he's doing.
Right.
You know, from what I understand, he took over one of the worst programs, undoubtedly the worst program in any Power 5 conference, but one of the worst programs in all of Division I college football. He had tremendous turnover in the tune of 53 new transfer players, 3 holdover starters from last year. He's ranked in the top 25 in the nation and is about to be 3-0. So to me, I don't understand when you say hype, what do you mean? So then a couple days later, we had.
So he never gave a reason.
Well, we had breakfast, and I was like, okay, so why don't you like Deion Sanders? Oh, I've never liked Deion Sanders. He's all hype. I said, he's not that. He said he's not good. I said, not good at what? And he was just like, you know, even as a player, you know, he was all hype. And I said, do you know that Deion Sanders is considered the greatest cornerback to ever play in the National Football League? Nope. I said, well, who is? Dale Green. I said, ask Dale Green who the best cornerback is. Ask him who the best cornerback is. He probably will say Deion Sanders. I said, Deion Sanders changed defenses. I said, remember they used to huddle and Deion used to be standing over there? Cornerbacks didn't used to flip sides.
Right.
Cornerbacks didn't used to flip sides. They had a side of the field. Deion Sanders followed anybody you want around that whole field. He allowed defensive coordinators. So I'm running off all of this stuff, all this. He reminds me of like a Bosworth. I said, what?
This dude's just hating.
So now I'm like, okay, well, what's going on here, man? Let me try to get to the bottom of this. I say all that to say Deion is scaring people because now he has the ability. He doesn't even have to compete with NIL money. Because if I'm a father and Deion Sanders is sitting in my living room telling me, send me your boy, I'm going to send you back a man. Right. If I'm a mom and I'm worried about my baby and the influences they're going to have in this critical part of their life.
Look, let me say this, because it's interesting you brought that up, because we're gonna get into some of this in the next segment. But to say that look, I don't care if they get beat 74-6 on Saturday. I don't care if they don't win another game this season. You can't say Deion Sanders is all style and no substance. You just can't. I mean, everything
not unless you don't like him for whatever reason you don't like him.
Right, because yes, he does talk. He is style, all that. But everything he said about being as a football player, he backed up.
Yes.
Ephraim, everything he said about a baseball player, this dude hit over 500 in the World Series.
It's crazy.
I do think, we'll never know, I think with what he showed us in
Hall of Fame.
Halftime he played baseball. Yeah.
Hall of Fame.
If he had focused on baseball, he'd have been a Hall of Fame.
Easy. That's a no-brainer right there, so to speak.
The dude was, for the time he put in, he was great. And he is arguably, Ephraim, I mean, you know, people have different, just like we talked about Tom Brady, some saying he's the best football player. People have different definitions, right? And they're going to, generally, if you say who's the best athlete ever, you get Ali, You get Michael Jordan. Some might say
Jim
LeBron,
Brown.
Jim Brown. Right. Most people going to say excellence in their sport. But if you just look at who is the greatest athlete ever, you can make an argument, right?
Easy, yes.
You can make an argument for Deion Sanders.
Yeah, and he can hoop, and he can play basketball.
Yeah, I heard in high school he was crazy. So I hear you. I mean, you can't say he's not substance.
Right.
You just can't say
it was
that.
something else behind that.
Oh yeah, they clearly.
Which we have to unpack in our friendship, right? Like, so I need some answers.
Nah, there's more. There's
because
something there.
You sounding real rhetoric-y right now.
Yeah,
I need to get some information a little bit later.
No
but
doubt.
To answer your question, the analyst part of me is saying, look, Oregon's the number 2 offense in the country. They really put up points. Now, this is the first test for Colorado that they're going against a legitimate pro prospect quarterback.
Right.
And because that's what Colorado has been doing to people. Because Shedeur is a high pro prospect quarterback. This will be their first test as a defense, which has not been good at all.
Right. It's going to be a shootout.
So the same can be said for Oregon and their defense. But what I will say is I don't think either way, if Oregon does win, it won't be a blowout. I think it's going to be a highly contested game, offensive skill-wise. Now, not having Hunter, that really hurts on both sides of the ball. You can't take your best player off the field and expect to still go out there and do things you did with him. So to me, as an analyst, that's what brings me pause. But as Ephraim Salaam, I'm rolling with the Buffaloes.
And I think they'll miss Hunter more. He's a great player both ways, but they're going to miss him more on defense.
Yes, that's where they needed him.
Touchdown, right?
That's where they needed him.
Defense. They still got some great receivers and Dylan Edwards in the backfield, dual threat running back. But we're going to dig a little more into what you were saying because Deion is getting hate. Everybody's focused on, the ratings, and he's on all these shows, Undisputed and Taylor Rooks, and all these shows are interviewing him. And the NIL money he's bringing to Colorado, all that. But he's also getting some hate. We're going to talk about that next. All right, Ephraim, you alluded to it. We're going to bring Rob G in because, again, a lot of people, not everybody, but I kind of been focused on the positive that, people are saying about Deion Sanders. But Rob G, there's a lot of negative out there, too, if you follow the social media and look in the comments as people talk about Deion and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Just one quick view here on one ESPN posting promoting the game tomorrow. Overrated AF, 114 total defense, 90th in scoring, listing all the stats, right? Deion has done a great job quickly turning around a team that's been very bad recently, but the relentless push to make it more feels off. You have even reputable people like former NFL scout Daniel Kelly, friend of the show. Shedeur Sanders is a 6th-round prospect. That's what his words. That people were getting pushed to a 1st round. There's definitely seems to be a little bit of a Linsanity type movement here where half of the people are rooting for him, the other half are rooting for the downfall.
Well, I think it's just what you said, Ephraim. People are threatened. And look, as you know this, you're a former professional athlete, but I'm sure you know, it's not like there's a bunch of Deion Sanders out there, right? It's not like,
there's only one.
Yeah, just go hire the next great athlete and let him do what Deion's does. Nah, Deion's different, right? But what he is doing, so I don't think you're just going to go get a bunch of athletes. A lot might not even want to do it. He puts in work, Ephraim. That's the thing. He puts in work, and he's an old school coach at the end of the day as far as what he demands of his team, how hard he works his players and things like that. He's new school in terms of, his personality and his charisma and his swag. But I think that's what he's doing is he's changing the game in terms of like culturally, like even Jay Norvell, who's African-American. Most African-American college coaches, Ephraim, act more like Jay Norvell. right? And so Deion, that's the thing. All black people aren't the same. You know, they're different types and all that, just like every other race of people. But Deion is bringing in that swag, that cool factor, all of that. And it's not just the cool factor; it's the fact that he also was such a great player. Mm-hmm. He could be cool all you want. If he couldn't play or had not been an NFL player and all that wasn't accomplished, it wouldn't matter. But the fact that he has that, Ephraim, I think it's just a different style, right? And he didn't, yes, he's worked hard. He went to Jackson State. He put in work before that, but he's come in kind of differently. He hasn't been 10 years, you know, on different staffs, start at a, you know, Division I AA school, then move up to a defensive backs coach at a D1 program. You know, he hadn't done all that. And so I think all of that is what threatens people.
Yeah, there's no singular path to greatness. There's no singular path to success. So the fact that Deion Sanders didn't go be a scout and then quality control coach and then special teams guy because he was a great punt returner,
right?
And then worked his way up through the staff. And Deion Sanders has been a leader his whole life. So to ask a leader to stop leading and start following is a very difficult task when that leader has had ultimate success in his profession and in his life.
Right.
People don't want to hear that because everybody isn't leaders. So so there's a standard that's set that they follow. Now you can
to become a leader.
You can develop leadership qualities. Right? But who's to say you have to take that path in order to be successful at that job? Case in point, I've been a television writer for almost 6 years now. I did not go to school for writing. I didn't get into the business by being a PA, by being a writer's assistant, a showrunner assistant. I didn't take those steps.
Right.
I got an opportunity to come in as a staff writer. And with that opportunity, I showed everybody in the room that I knew what I was doing, that I could take it and go. And from there, I built out my career that put me 5 years ahead of anyone normally going through that. Does that make me any less of a writer?
Right. And you've written great stuff. And your latest that I've seen, at least, right? Your latest is Bel Air.
And hopefully they finishing up these talks right now, and we get some good news.
Because I'm enjoying it. I watched both seasons of Bel Air, the remake of The Freshman. Nah, real talk, y'all did a great job with that.
Thank you, man.
Talk.
I appreciate that.
But I think you brought up the point of there's not one way to success.
No.
But see, as you know, in college football and even probably college sports, we could say, when you talk about coaching, they have painted it like it's one way.
Of course.
And because
they control that way.
Yes, and that's a way to lock people out.
They control that way.
Sports has been a way that African Americans and others have been able to get in. Deion's greatness as an athlete allowed him an opportunity. I'm not sure if it was with you, but I'm willing to bet maybe the fact that you were a professional athlete
100%.
got you in the door, right?
Yeah, man.
But you always had the ability. And that's the thing. We've been cutting off, not we, but, people have been cut off who have great ability because of the Good Old Boys Network and all these other things. And Deion is a threat to that. And that's why I think people are hating on